My sister planned her wedding on my graduation day, and it wasn't an accident. She planned it because she had to win at every cost. I spent years working toward one single day. Late nights, early mornings, holding myself together when no one else could help. My graduation wasn't just a ceremony to me, it was proof. Proof that I survived being told there was no money for my dreams. Proof that I didn't quit when quitting would have been easier. And the day I finally reached it, my own sister made sure I wouldn't be the one anyone looked at. When my phone rang and my mom told me Lisa was getting married, my first reaction was pure joy. I was shocked, honestly. Lisa never talked about settling down, she never stayed with anything long enough to finish it. So hearing she found someone serious enough to marry felt big. I asked questions. Who is he? When's the wedding? My mom went quiet, not the happy quiet, the kind that makes your stomach tighten before your brain catches up. That's when she said the date, the exact same day as my graduation. Same city, same time. Same morning I dreamed about since I was a broke college student paying tuition with overtime shifts. I laughed at first because it didn't make sense. It had to be a mistake. People don't do that on purpose, especially not family. Especially not sisters, so I called Lisa myself. I congratulated her. I told her I was happy for her. Then I asked the question that mattered. Why that day? She didn't hesitate. Her voice was calm, almost relieved. She said she wanted to win. She said mom and dad would always choose a wedding over a graduation. And she was right. That call changed the way I see family forever. We grew up in Austin, two sisters under the same roof, raised by parents who worked hard just to keep us afloat. There wasn't extra money, there wasn't a safety net. What there was survival. Bills came first, food came first, dreams came last. My parents loved us, but love doesn't always look the same when resources are thin. With me, it came with rules and responsibility. With Lisa, it came with protection. I was the older one, so expectations landed on me early. Be careful, be realistic, don't ask for things we can't afford. When college came up, my parents were honest. They said they could cover rent, food, and medical emergencies. Tuition wasn't possible. Not for me. I nodded like it didn't hurt, like it didn't change anything. Then I got a job on campus and another one off campus and figured it out myself. Lisa had a different experience. If she wanted to switch majors, she switched. If college didn't feel right, she dropped out. Then she'd try again. Different schools, different subject, same ending, no consequences. My parents kept hoping she'd find her path. I kept working mine. We lived in the same house, but our lives moved in opposite directions. After graduation, I went straight into a mid-sized marketing firm. Entry level, long hours. I learned fast because I had to. Over the years, I moved jobs, built experience, and slowly climbed into something stable. Nothing flashy, just steady, enough to rent my own apartment, enough to breathe. For the first time, I wasn't scared of the future. That's when I decided to go back for my MBA, my dream school, the one I couldn't afford when I was younger. I worked full-time and studied at night. Weekends disappeared. Sleep became optional. Lisa made fun of me for it. Said I didn't know how to enjoy life. Asked why I was always chasing money and grades like something bad was going to happen if I stopped. What she didn't understand was that something already had happened. I learned early that no one was coming to save me. When relatives praised me, Lisa would smile but later say I was just good at playing the victim. She never acknowledged my wins. Not once. And I learned to stop expecting her to. When I told my parents my graduation date, my dad hugged me. Really hugged me. He said he was proud of me for doing everything on my own. My mom cried. Then she joked that now she wanted me married so I'd stop running after work. We laughed. Lisa was standing right there, listening. I didn't know she was counting. A few days after that visit, I asked Lisa if she'd come to my graduation. I didn't even make it emotional. I said it casually, like it wasn't a big deal. She shrugged and said she'd see if she was not busy. That answer sat heavy with me, but I pushed it aside. I had deadlines, finals, projects due. I didn't have space to chase her approval anymore. A week before graduation, my mom called. Her voice sounded careful. That's how I knew something was wrong. She told me Lisa was getting married. I smiled. I asked all the normal questions. Then she paused again, long enough for the silence to speak. That's when she told me the date, my graduation day, same hours. My chest went tight before I could even react. I called Lisa right after. I congratulated her. I meant it. Then I asked why she chose that date. She didn't pretend. She said mom and dad were so proud of me, and she wanted that feeling too. She said she knew a wedding would pull everyone to her side. She said it like strategy, not emotion. Like this was something she planned, not something that happened. My parents were crushed. My mom cried. My dad didn't know what to say. They were stuck in a choice no parent should have to make, and Lisa knew that. I told them I understood. I told them to go to the wedding. I repeated Lisa's words back to myself. A wedding is bigger than a graduation. On graduation day, I stood in a crowd full of families cheering, hugging, taking photos. I kept scanning faces that weren't coming. I smiled when my name was called. I walked across the stage alone. And somewhere between the applause and the silence afterward, something inside me hardened. That was the day I learned I was on my own. After graduation, life didn't pause just because my heart was heavy. I went back to work the following Monday, sat at my desk, answered emails, nodded through meetings like everything was normal. On the outside, nothing had changed. On the inside, something had shifted permanently. I stopped expecting warmth from places that had already shown me they couldn't give it. A few weeks later, Lisa texted me saying she wanted to stop by with her husband. I hadn't even met him properly yet. Part of me didn't want to see her at all, but another part of me was curious. Curious about the man she'd rushed into marriage with. Curious about the life she'd chosen just to prove a point. I told her she could come by. When they arrived, Lisa acted like nothing had happened. She laughed too loudly. We talked about the wedding, about how beautiful everything was, about how stressful planning had been. Then she introduced me to her husband like I was some distant relative, not her sister, not the one she grew up competing with, just someone she had to acknowledge. He was kind. That was the part that confused me. He shook my hand warmly, complimented my apartment, asked about my work and actually listened to the answer. At one point, he joked that Lisa told him I was too busy with school to attend her wedding. I felt my stomach drop. I looked at her. She avoided my eyes. I didn't correct him. I didn't argue. I just smiled and nodded. I realized at that moment that Lisa wasn't just competing with me anymore. She was rewriting reality to protect her image. And watching her do it so easily made something click. This wasn't about love or marriage or family pride. This was about her needing to feel superior, even if it meant lying. After they left, I sat alone in my apartment replaying the conversation. I thought about how effortlessly she twisted the story, how calm she was doing it, and I understood something that took me years to accept. Lisa didn't see me as her sister, she saw me as a mirror, and every time I succeeded, it reminded her of what she hadn't finished. We didn't talk much after that. Weeks turned into months, holidays passed quietly. My parents tried to keep the peace, but something was broken now and everyone felt it. I focused on work. I focused on building my life. I told myself distance was healthy, necessary. Then one night my phone rang. It was late. Past midnight. Lisa's name lit up my screen, and for a second I considered not answering. We weren't close anymore. Every conversation felt loaded. But something in my chest told me this wasn't a normal call, so I picked it up. She was crying so hard I couldn't understand her at first. Her words came out tangled, broken, panicked. I asked her where she was. She said she was outside my apartment. I told her to come up immediately. When she walked through the door, she collapsed into my arms like she'd been holding herself together for too long. She wouldn't stop shaking. Her makeup was smeared. Her voice cracked every time she tried to speak. I sat her down on my couch and waited. Eventually, the words came out. She told me her husband had been abusive from the start, not loud at first, not obvious, just controlling, isolating. Angry in ways that scared her but never left marks she couldn't explain away. She said she ignored it because she didn't want to look like a failure, because she'd already made such a big show of her wedding, because everyone had chosen her side and she didn't know how to admit she'd chosen wrong. That night, she said, he tried to kill her. She didn't go into details. She didn't have to. I could hear it in her voice. She said when it happened, when she ran, when she finally got away, the only person she could think of was me. I felt everything at once. Anger, fear, sadness, and something else I hated admitting. Understanding. For the first time, I saw the cost of her needing to win. She hadn't married for love. She'd married for validation. And now she was trapped. I didn't lecture her. I didn't say I told you so. I held her while she cried. I made tea she didn't drink. I told her she was safe. That night, competition disappeared. There were no comparisons, no scores. Just two sisters sitting in silence, finally on the same side of reality. But I also knew something she didn't want to hear. This wasn't something I could fix for her. I could support her, protect her for the night, help her think clearly. But saving her wasn't my job. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. She stayed until morning. Before she left, she apologized. Not for the wedding date, not for graduation, but for never seeing me. For turning everything into a contest instead of a relationship. I hugged her and told her she didn't have to be strong anymore. When the door closed behind her, I sat on my couch staring at the wall. I realized something painful and freeing at the same time. I had spent my life building stability while she chased attention. And now, stability was the only thing keeping either of us standing. After that night, things changed quietly. Lisa didn't magically become healed. I didn't suddenly become her savior. But the dynamic shifted. She stopped competing. I stopped carrying guilt that never belonged to me. For the first time, there was honesty between us, even if it was fragile. I helped her make a plan, not emotional promises, practical steps, places she could go, people she could call. I encouraged her to tell our parents, but I didn't force it. I know now that forcing choices only creates new damage. She had to reclaim control on her own terms. And for the first time in my life, I didn't put my life on pause for her crisis. I kept going to work. I kept building my future. I kept my boundaries firm. That was the real turning point. Not her apology, not her tears, but my decision to stop shrinking myself to make room for her chaos. Months later, my dad told me he was proud of the woman I'd become. Not just for my career, but for my strength. My mom hugged me longer than usual. Lisa didn't interrupt. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't compete. She just listened. I realized then that success doesn't always look like applause. Sometimes it looks like quiet peace, like knowing you earned your place, like understanding that you can love someone without letting them derail your life. And that graduation day I stood alone, it wasn't the moment I lost my family. It was the moment I found myself. A few weeks after that night, Lisa finally told our parents the truth. I wasn't in the room when it happened, but I could hear it in my mom's voice when she called me afterward. The denial was gone. The excuses were gone. What was left was shock and guilt, and the kind of pain parents feel when they realize they missed something important. My dad came to my apartment the next day. He sat at my small kitchen table, hands folded, eyes tired. He didn't talk about Lisa at first. He talked about me, about how hard I worked, about how he knew I carried more than I should have. Then he apologized, not loudly, not dramatically, just honestly. He said he didn't realize how often they asked me to be strong so someone else could stay comfortable. That conversation hurt more than the graduation ever did, but it also healed something. Because for the first time, my pain wasn't brushed aside or minimized. It was seen. Lisa and I talked later that evening. She admitted she chose her wedding date on purpose. She said hearing our parents praise me made her feel invisible. She said she thought stealing the spotlight would finally make her feel equal. Instead, it trapped her in a life she was terrified to admit she hated. I told her something I'd never said out loud before, that I never competed with her. I was just trying to survive, that every achievement she envied came from fear, not confidence, fear of ending up with nothing, fear of depending on people who couldn't always help, fear of failing quietly. She cried when I said that, not because she felt attacked, but because she finally understood that my success wasn't meant to shame her, it was meant to save me. That was the confrontation we both needed, not anger, not blame, just the truth. Lisa left her husband a few months later. Quietly, no announcements, no dramatic speeches, just one suitcase and a decision she was finally making for herself. She didn't move in with me, she found her own place. Her own job, her own slow way forward. We aren't best friends now, and we probably never will be, but we're honest, and that matters more. As for me, I stopped measuring my life by whether people show up. I stopped waiting for applause. I learned that being alone on graduation day didn't mean I failed. It meant I was strong enough to stand there without permission. Some people compete because they think life is a scoreboard. They think if someone else wins, they lose. But real life doesn't work that way. There's no prize for stealing moments that don't belong to you. There's only consequences. My sister wanted to win one day. I wanted a future. And in the end, only one of those things lasted. If this story hit close to you, you're not alone. Sometimes the people closest to us hurt us the most, not because they hate us, but because they're afraid of what our growth reflects back at them. If you've ever stood alone during a moment you earned, this is for you. Keep building anyway. Thanks for listening. And subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.